What on earth should Man United do in the transfer window? Who should they buy and who should they sell? It's going to take a while. I am Richard and welcome to a load of cobblers. Let's get straight into it. So I'm going to start from the back and make my way forward. I think before I get into any players though, what they're doing at the moment, getting rid of the deadwood is for me the right thing for them to be doing. So Matic, Mata, Lingard, Pogba, Lee Grant, all these people that they're getting off the wage bill, absolutely right. For me, it's who would you keep? There's not a lot of people I look at this squad and go, they're improving you. I think they need to try and change the whole business model, the whole wage. Can't get the words out. Just the way that they give money out to players, especially players that are well past the sell-by date. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but Cavani, end of career, you're giving him big wages coming in, and he's great. He looked like a true professional for everybody, but really, would you see Man City doing that? Would you see Liverpool doing that? And the reason I use those two is because they're the yardstick. They're the most successful clubs over the last 5 years, and if you want to be the most successful club in the league, you need to be doing what they do or better. And Man United are nowhere near it. So first and foremost, what I do is get rid of a whole host of other players as well. If they're out of contract or I can sell them on, then that's what I'd be doing. So goalkeeping position, I don't think David De Gea is top 5 in the Premier League anymore. If you'd have asked me that 10 years ago, I'd have said he was the best in the league. I think the game's changed since David De Gea joined the Premier League. Still think on his day he's a very good goalkeeper. And the thing about David De Gea is he went from playing with Vidic and Ferdinand to playing with Bailly and Lindelof, and you go, you're never gonna keep clean sheets with those guys there, and that's not even going into the whole host of the bad tactics and poor midfield. So I'd keep David De Gea. He'd be staying if I was looking at the transfers. I'd get rid of Dean Henderson. I think he's got too much to say. Great goalkeeper. I think he'd be a success. I think there's rumours that he'll be going to Newcastle. I think that'd be a good move for him. And if he's a good enough goalkeeper, United will buy him. They'll buy him back. Let's be honest. But I think he's got he's come through United Academy, so he must be a good player. He probably is a good player, but could you go out? Was he better than Romero that used to play for United as De Gea's number 2? I don't think so. Romero was arguably better than De Gea, and they let him go. So Dean Henderson for me would go. For me, what they need to focus on is moving away from that player power. They've not been right for a long time. You can see that it's the balance is not right. Left back Luke Shaw. I've got one of my best friends is a United fan, and he absolutely thinks Luke Shaw is the best thing since sliced bread. He constantly says to me that the thing about Luke Shaw that's really good is on his day he's better than any left back. But how many times a year does he have a day? For me, he's had some horrific injuries, but I think unpopular opinion with United fans, Jose Mourinho is right. He called him and Pogba not being particularly good and working hard enough, and I think he's bang on. Luke Shaw, with the wages that he's got, is he a squad player for me? If you're paying those wages, you've got to be a first team starter, and if you want to be successful against United, he's got to go. Bailly, I'd get rid of Bailly at centre back. Passionate player, but let's be honest, always injured. You need someone who's consistent and putting pressure on other places. For me, he would go. And the other centre back that I'd get rid of, is controversial, is Raphael Varane. Don't shoot me in the comments, but Varane is on big wages. He's past his sell-by date. He's not, when Ferguson wanted him many years ago, that was the time for United to have him. Even 5 years after that was the time to have him. He's a great player. His wages are too much. Yeah, I know I'm going to get people who are defending him over Maguire, etc. But for me, Varane has to go. I'd keep Lindelof and I would keep Maguire. I think Maguire gets a hard time. I don't think he's ever a £100 million player. but he's English, and you know what they do with the price tags of English players? They put ridiculous fees on them, and he didn't ask to go for 100 million. United were willing to pay that, and if we'd all be sitting there talking differently if United had paid 25 million for him and saying, well, what a steal. Leicester have always got a good track record with centre backs, and Harry Maguire's no exception to that. He can't play in a high line. It doesn't suit him. He's not got the pace to make up for it. But what he can do, like he does for England, is play well when he sits deep, and he pushes into midfield as well, which is one of his strengths to his game. But he can't do that when he's higher at the field, and he's good from set pieces. Although United haven't been particularly good last season from set pieces. For me, I would keep Maguire. I wouldn't keep him as captain. I would get rid of the captaincy. I think that the pressure of being captain, again, he didn't ask to be captaincy. That was Solskjaer that gave him that. For me, you've got to give the captaincy to Ronaldo. I just don't think that helps him. It's a massive step up to go from a good Premier League team to a global Premier League team. Man United are arguably top 5 biggest clubs in the world. The international fan base, it's such a pressure. You see it on social media, he gets hounded week in, week out. Even when he has a good game, he gets hounded. You've got lots of people on there with rose-tinted glasses looking at people, centre-backs that United used to have, saying that Harry Maguire couldn't lace the boots. He's not a bad defender. He's just low on confidence. I'd keep him. Don't think he'd start necessarily. I know that's a lot for a 100 million player, but you're not going to get anywhere near that amount of money for. No one's going to, in the right mind, is going to buy him for more than 50 million. So, keep him. I think he adds something to the team as well. Phil Jones, I'd keep Phil Jones. Don't switch off the camera now. I know you're thinking he's just said to keep Harry Maguire now and saying Phil Jones. I think Phil Jones gets such a tough time from United fans. He's a great player. He was a Ferguson purchase. He was one of 3 players in the squad that have won the Premier League. He knows what it is to win. He always gives his all for United. He's been absolutely crucified with injuries. Now, going back to what I said about Bailly, if United got rid of him, I don't think there could be any complaints from any United fans. I don't think there would be. But I would keep him. Honestly, I'd keep him. He can play defensive midfield. God knows they need that. But I'd keep him. Right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, gotta go. Yeah, I can't really go on about that. Gotta go. One-on-ones is pretty good. Defensive positioning is poor. It doesn't offer anything going forwards. Good, solid player, but not a United player. And just people I've missed. I think Telles and the other guy's called Dalot. Yeah, you might keep Dalot because he's quite young. Telles, for me, I don't know. I'd get rid of both of them if I'm totally honest. I'm not a football manager, so, but I mean, there'll be arguments in the comments saying, well, you need to keep this, you can't get rid of everybody, but they're not good players. And that's the difference, isn't it, with United now? They look at those players and argue about how good they are, and they're not. Midfielder, you've done quite a bit of work. You've got rid of 3 sort of midfielders that were on high wages. I would keep Fred and I'd keep McTominay. I think McTominay is a squad player, gives his all, but I don't think he's good enough to start. I think Fred's had a tough time. I'd keep Fred. I would bring back the guy that was on loan at Forest, James Garner. He wouldn't, for me, necessarily start, but he'd be a good squad player and he could look up to Fred and one other. That's an area that needs strength, and they need to get at least 2 defensive midfielders. They need to get someone that's sort of mid-20s to early 30s, where they can play 2 or 3 seasons solid football, and teach people like Garner and maybe one other that could play that position. It's such a vital position in the modern day game, and United have just got it wrong so many times. I don't particularly like DMs. I think Roy Keane said something on Sky Sports before about, this never used to be a position you had to defend and you had to go forward. And I think that's the way it should be. But, if you look at the types of Fabinho for Liverpool, Rodri and Fabinho Fernandinho for Man City, you just go, these guys are phenomenal and keep the game ticking over. Michael Carrick used to do it really well for United, but obviously the English game doesn't really appreciate that position as much as you would do if he was playing in Spain. You need to. I don't know who's in the market. Would you go out for? There was links to Kante. Again, Kante's what is he, early 30s now? Great player, probably coming to the end of his powers. Is that another Matic situation? Would you do that? Personally, I'd go nowhere near that. The guy that I would go for if I was United would be Wilfred Ndidi from Leicester. I think he would be a good, solid signing. Sort of could walk straight into that position. So that's who I would get in there, and I'd get one other that's maybe an understudy to him. I think if you're playing a double pivot, him and Fred would be pretty solid. But indeed, he does it week in, week out for Leicester, where he can play that position by himself if he needs to. So that for me would be a no-brainer. I think you could get him for under 30 million if I was United. I still think that is the biggest weakness. If you look at the strike force, it's okay. You need a couple more midfielders. And who else you'd get? It's hard. I don't know who you get. I'd also then look at your forward line, your wingers. If you could say United really have wingers, Jadon Sancho, you keep hold of Jadon Sancho. He performed well for Man City's youth team. He performed well at Borussia Dortmund, and he's coming to a poor United side and not played well. Well, he's only a young lad. I'd keep him. I'd give him another 18 months and see what he's doing. I know he's on big wages, but I'd keep him. Cristiano Ronaldo, you have to keep him. You have to keep him. What he's done in this United squad last season is phenomenal. Is he the third? Was it just behind Son and Salah for the Golden Boot? That United team are abysmal. If you'd have put Ronaldo in the City or the Liverpool team, he's getting 40 goals. And his powers aren't as good as they used to be. There's no disputing that. But come on, let's be deadly honest here. Why wouldn't you keep him? And I'd also give him the captaincy if I was United. His standards are very high. He strops, he throws his arm up in the air, and maybe I think football's a little bit too nice now. You can't, if that was Sunday League, and I know there's massive differences, but if that was Sunday League, you're calling people out if they're not playing very well. And I think United don't have any of that. I'd get rid of Anthony Martial, or Tony Martial, whatever they call him. He looked okay when he first came in. I remember watching whatever season it was when he came in the last minute and thinking, who the hell is this guy? And there's that song about him coming from France. He's not done very well at all. Been a massive flop. Clearly a talented footballer, but there's lots of talented footballers that never make it because they just don't have the work rate, the desire, the attitude. I just don't think it's ever going to work out for United. He's gone to Seville, not done anything there. I think he needs to be off as well. I think from the outside looking in, he looks like he's not interested. And United have got to stop looking at players with, I don't know, some sort of silly bias. You've got to be honest, he's not good enough to be a United player. Marcus Rashford, I'd keep Rashford and see how he goes in the next 12 months. And if no good, then move him on. I don't. There's talks that he's too big for his boots at this occasion, and the ego's gone to his head. I'd like to think that's not the case. I think he's had an injury and he's played a lot of football. He's played a lot of football since the age of 18 as well. I think he's got a bit of burnout, Rashford. I think he works incredibly hard when he's playing for the right manager and he's got clear tactics. I think Rashford's got to stay. Give him 12 months, see what he does. Bruno Fernandes has got to stay, I think, for now. I think you'll see Frankie de Jong from Barcelona potentially come in. I've not seen enough of him to comment on whether that's good or bad signing. When he played, it was about 3 or 4 years ago for Ajax, and I saw him and Van der Beek. They both look fantastic, but Van der Beek's not got a look in at United and never looked particularly good for Everton either. And Frankie de Jong, maybe that's a good signing. They're looking at, is it Tombra, whatever his name is, from Ajax as a defender. That might be a good sign for United. Anthony, basically going to just raid Ajax, aren't they? They're linked with absolutely everybody. But I think it's more important to promote some youth and to get rid of some of the egos that are at United and some of those big wage bills and try and do what Liverpool have done. And I know that they've just signed Nunes, but I think it's very important that everyone knows at the moment, if you want to make a quick buck, you try and sell a player to United. Like Leicester have absolutely stitched them up with Harry Maguire coming in at 100 million. Again, not Harry's fault. But if you're willing to pay it, you know, Man United has become a retirement home. Look at Matic, look at Alexis Sanchez, look at who's the other guy just left, Cavani, all these players, and you think they're just getting money for nothing. Not that they're not all good players on the day, I'm not saying that, but you've got to change that mentality. You've got to. And I think that's the first job that Ten Hag's got. Will he be given enough time at United? Don't know. They're my thoughts anyway for the United squad. I'm trying not to think that I've missed too many players out. I'd love to know what you guys think. If I'm an idiot just talking rubbish, if you agree with some of the things I'm saying, or if there's anything else that you would say needs to happen. Comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.